right. I'm just going to share my screen really quick. And we'll go through the call notes, make sure everybody's kind of on the same page with where we are. So wanted to just kind of start with where we are and kind of what our goal is. So as the Chesapeake team knows, and the Newport team news team will know soon, our whole goal is to get into the top 10 on client growth and overall virtual. So I wanted to show you some of the reporting that I was able to get a hold of yesterday and kind of talk through it with you guys and see what you guys see. So here we have, can you guys see my screen okay? Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Awesome. So as you can see, to get into the top 10, we need to be 18% down to target. Right now, Chesapeake is down 23% to target, and Newport News is down 32% to target. So on a rank of 1 to 89, which is all the districts, Chesapeake is ranked 24th and Newport News is ranked 65. This is where we want to put a lot of our focus right now, especially with WIP, which will help you close this gap. But I wanted to talk about this target date. So what's about to happen is the overall percent, or right now our prior year is going up and our target is going up. But what's about to happen is our target is about to drop drastically. Anybody have any guesses why? Any thoughts why all of our goals are about to get a lot easier?
We're out of first peak.
Yeah, we are at a first peak. So this time last year, there was an announcement from the IRS. Does anybody remember what that announcement was?
Extending season.
Exactly. Last year, we told everybody, IRS told everybody at the end of February, hey, we're extending the season for a couple of months. And then what happened? Does anyone remember what happened to our customer flow? Dried up. So overall guidance, overall past year customers is about to be a lot easier to beat. So I know so far everyone looks at it and it's like, man, I feel like we've been super busy and we're like 25% down in where we're supposed to be. That's why. It's because all of a sudden it's going to get extremely easy to beat all these targets because it's going to be much lower than it was. It's going to be much lower. So I wanted to give you that insight so that you can share with your teams and stay focused on this as we pick up the slack there. So I wanted to talk about that and share that with you guys. Also wanted to show you our plan achieved. So Chesapeake's hit 25% of our customers already. That means we have 75% of our customers to go in the next about 62 days. And same with Newport News, you have about 80% of your customers to go in the next 62 days. So all going to become a capacity play like we've been talking about and warning about since the beginning of the season. That's really where it's going to play out when you cram all those customers in. So that being said, overtime approved for everybody. Anyone can work as many hours as they want, right? There was a tax pro last week that worked 90 hours. I'm fine with it. Make sure we're supporting them and every way we can and making it easy, but I'm okay if someone wants to work 1 million hours. Let's look at virtual. Any thoughts on return growth there before we move on? Does that all make sense? You may see some communication come from corporate around cutting OT. I called several of you yesterday. I couldn't get a hold of all of you, but you can ignore that communication. If anyone gives you pushback, have them call me. Schedule OT, schedule everyone as much as you need to. If we're not there to help people do returns, they go elsewhere. Virtual. So this is our number 2 thing, right? That we're trying to push as hard as possible. If you look right now, Chesapeake's at a 27%. Newport News is at a 17%. If you just being transparent here and talking through it, right? Out of 89 districts, Newport News, you guys are ranked 76. So you guys got to really focus on virtual to get out of that camp. And then if you look at our virtual in Chesapeake, right? If we just move up to 35%, we'll be in that top 10. So really need some movement here. We really need to focus on the underperformers. You can see here the last 7 days, Newport News, you guys stayed steady and didn't move up or down in virtual the last 7 days. And then Chesapeake, we dropped 1%. So really need to continue to focus on virtual every single day and talk about it every day. Last thing I wanted to show, and this is kind of a new view, but I know we're focusing on WIP a lot. So if you look at our overall conversion, Chesapeake, we're ranked 54th out of the 89 at 84%. If we bring it up just 3% to 87% and bring us to the top 10. So really that 3%, and if you look, we're down 3% in whip versus last year. So we really want to go after whip right now. Now is the time for it, closing as many holes as we can. I saw Gabby put in one of the chats this morning that the Robinhood and a lot of those stock trading statements are out today. E-Trade is out today. A lot of forms we were waiting on are now released as of today. So great time to work through WHIP today and contact some of those people. But we really need to make sure we focus on it.
They don't necessarily, like my Robinhood came out. I got mine 3 days ago. I saw clients waiting on theirs though. So they're being estimated on the 17th. And I have two other brokerage statements nowhere near ready. So
yeah, the only way to find out is to call and talk to the customer and put detailed notes, right? When is it coming out? Okay, we'll contact you back that day and controlling it. What I look at is this year over year, we should be positive to last year, and we want to focus on it now.
Just saying, if you get surprised, if they go like, oh, my Robinhood's not out yet, because I was like, I got mine, yours should be out, and he said, no, and I looked at his phone, and sure enough, they said the 17th, so.
Yep, got it. For sure.
Just, don't get too aggressive with them.
Exactly. Do it. Control what you can control, right? So let's call them, try to move through who we can. If you look, the good news is the last couple of days we've been increasing in whip, but I do want to point out again, right? This is out of 89 ranked. Newport News, you guys are ranked 82 for whip. So there's definitely some opportunity there. I would really focus on whip and how you can grow it this week. And then Chesapeake, we're not even top half, right? So how do we grow whip? How do we make it a focus? I added 2 Excel sheets onto this email for you. And it's the amount of holds by Tax Pro. And it's ranked. So you can go in there and see, okay, here's everybody who has over 10 holds. Let me talk to my people that are on this list and see how we can close some of those holds. So you can use this list to target where to make a difference. But at the end of the day, we want to close as many as we can. Before we move on, I wanted to ask, I know Debbie's not on the call today, but Marianne, you completely rocked the virtual piece this last week. Any takeaways that you can share? Anything that made your success there?
I think Leslie would be able to handle this question a lot better than me.
I love it. What are your thoughts, Leslie?
We've been using the feature in WorkCenter where we can send the clients a text link. We've been trying to email the link or trying to get them to set up their MyBlock account, and that's a lot more challenging. But we've been sending the text to them through WorkCenter for them to upload their documents. They click on the link, it opens it up, they take a picture and send it to us. And we've been doing that with every client, particularly I've been out at Constance a lot. So we've been doing it particularly at Constance, but some in Franklin have been also using that feature. And the ones that are using that feature, they are either sitting right at 38, 39% or above 40% in virtual. So it works. It's just trying to get them to buy into that and see how easy it is. I tried to talk to them at Main Street, and first word out of their mouth is but. So if it's just getting them to try it and see how simple it is for us as well as for the clients, and it works.
I absolutely love that. So can you do me a favor? Are you in front of a PC? Can you share how to do that feature you're talking about? I would love to have everybody see it so we can move it.
All right, so let me. Let me sign into WorkCenter on this computer.
No problem.
While we're waiting, I just want to point out that also Leslie has the patience to sit with her clients and actually go through all of the steps with them to set up their MyBlock. And, even if it takes an extra 20, 30 minutes at the desk, she is very consistent in helping her clients get this going.
That's a lot of what it is. Exactly. It's that spending the time, making sure it happens. What I would say too is, as she loads this as a leader too, I think, or as she's loading this, think about what she said about the leadership piece, right? it's her going in and convincing the tax pros to do it, changing their behavior. I would really look at the reporting that I've sent out around virtual, and you can pull it right in the hub, right? We've walked through it together, how to look by tax pro. Look at the people at 0%. Go after those tax pros. Why haven't they done a single virtual return yet this year? It's unacceptable. Like, they can either get with the program and write virtual returns, or they can not come back next year. I'm not trying to be aggressive, but like, it's their job and it's the company's #1 focus, and it's what we're getting ranked off of. It's what we're bonusing off of. It's what the company is saying we need to focus on. And if they're just completely opting out of it, what else are they opting out of? They're probably not starting returns in Work Center. They're probably not offering surveys. They're probably not offering attach rate, right? It's all the same behavior of leaning in and asking. So I would really look at those 0% tax pros this week, draw a clear line in the sand and make it clear that, look, if you're working for us, you have to execute here. This is how you do it. I'm going to follow up, that kind of thing. Sorry, not to be negative, just like, we got to do it. Anyways, Leslie, I'll hand it back to you, sir.
All right, can you see my screen?
I cannot yet.
Okay.
There we go. It's loading now. Now we can see.
All right, so here on the client card, these 3 dots next to their name, you click that, you click send invite. If you were talking to them, this was one of the buts I got from some people. It's like, but they have to opt into text messaging. I said, well, if you're talking to them and you ask them, can I send you a text? And they say yes, that's them opting in. So you click on those buttons, click text, click next, send text, next. And they've opted in. I don't want to do that for this client because I'm not talking to her, but the next screen will actually have the cell phone number. Please verify that that's the cell phone number they have in their possession. Some clients change numbers very frequently, so we can't just assume that the number on the system is the number that they currently have. So to ensure that they do get the text. And once you send that to them, they get a text with the link. Click on the link, accept the terms, then click here to upload your documents. Take a picture, and it's that quick. And I think that, and I've also said to offer it to everybody. We can't assume that a client is not wanting to do this or is not going to be able to do this. We can't make that assumption. And if we are picking and choosing the clients that we're offering this to, then we're selling ourselves as well as the clients short. I had an older client, a couple, and they're like, sure, but you do it for me. So I sent them the link. They handed me their phone and I did it for them. So they didn't say, well, I don't know how to do it. I'm not comfortable with technology. I have people say, well, older people are not going to do it. And I'm like, well, my mother's 83 and she uses all of this technology. So we can't make the decision for the clients. We have to offer it to everyone. And I think once Peggy and Elise here at Constance saw how easy it was and how effective it was, it got them more motivated to continue to do it because they saw their stats go up in the right direction.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Thanks for the share. Question for you.
I just like to add as also doing tax prep a little bit when I have to. I actually like getting it, like, because I come in early in the morning, get it all done. And that basically when the clients come in, it's done. You know, it's just, I'd rather get all that done without them staring at me while I look at their W-2 and enter stuff and stuff like that. So, I mean, on the tax pro side, I actually like it better.
My question is, do you have a conversation with that cut? So say I have an appointment with you at 3 p.m. today. So based off of what you said, you would call me and tell me about that text message you're sending me? Is that what you're doing? Or do you just send it?
What I do, I just send it. If I'm in, like somebody say get a message and I get, messages, they're trying to get a hold of me. If I see they're not active and verified, I just send it to them. I don't wait until they come in. Usually most of mine, I get a message and they want me to do their taxes. Then I send them a message and say, just upload it. But they also set an appointment to come in. So, I mean, it just depends on the circumstances.
And what about What about you, Leslie? Are you sent, or do you call them, or do you just send them the message?
It's we I send it only when I'm actually having a conversation with them, and so that they know to expect that text right then and there. And if they're not in a position to upload the documents right then and there, then they'll say, well, when I get home, I'll upload it. But I know that we have sent out a lot of, as we're confirming appointments, if we can't get a hold of them, we send them the digital drop-off invites. And I personally am not seeing a lot of success sending it that way. I find more success if I am actually talking to them and they know that this message, this text, this email is on its way. So they are expecting it versus some random message pop up on their phone.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the office that she's doing this in is at 70% virtual. So I would, if I were you, I would definitely listen and take action on what she's talking about. Is that helpful? Was that a good takeaway for everybody on how to drive some virtual? Is that a helpful tool? So just to simplify it again, right? She's talking to all the customers, telling them she's sending them a text message to upload their documents right now. And then she's going into Work Center, going on that screen that she showed us on the client screen and sending the text asking them to upload their documents. And she's at 70%. We've got offices at less than 5%, which are in the bottom 1% of the company. This is a clear action coaching item that you can take to drive virtual. Virtual's not going away, right? So here's an easy way that we can help those tax pros that just don't get it, or those tax pros that aren't uploading stuff, right? So huge thank you to Leslie and Marianne for sharing. I think it's a great best practice. I really recommend everybody digging in here. And we'll continue to focus on virtual during one-on-ones. So awesome share. Thank you guys. Any final thoughts on that before we move on from it? Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Thank you both for sharing. Just some additional notes that I wanted to touch base with everybody. We already talked about the extension was announced at the end of February last year. So you're going to see your guidance and past year goal that you're up against drop aggressively at the beginning of February. So your goals will get easier. Keep focusing on the behaviors. Wanted to talk about Easter. So I saw Dawn was on. She was actually the one who brought it up. Can you share what you were talking to me about yesterday, Dawn? Because I thought it was such a great point.
Hello, everybody. So we were having, I'm actually just consulting with the shutdown procedures for this year. And I know it's kind of early to be talking about this. You know, we have a lot of other things coming up before shutdown. But Easter is the day before the last day of tax season this year. And in the past, a lot of years, the corporation has been happy as long as we open some of our offices on Easter and they allow some to be closed. My guess is that's not going to be the case this year just because of where it falls. So we want to be starting to make our staff aware of this, talk to them, make sure we have a plan to cover and staff the office that day. Then Monday is the last day of tax season, and typically we have 2 days after the end of tax season where we do shutdown. And the expectation is that's what it's going to be again this year. And ATL, TL, and MTL contracts go through that Wednesday. So it might be a little bit challenging if people have kids that are going to be off from school then. But this is a conversation to be had with the ATLs especially, and even, you know, just to make you aware of it, that we need to plan to make sure we have somebody that's going to be there to complete those closing tasks in every office. Let your ATLs know that that's when their contract goes through, and this is part of their job to stay on and work so that they don't make other plans because they don't know that they need to be there. If you have an office that doesn't have an ATL, or, you know, there's something out of somebody's control and they're not able to work, we need to get a fill-in, be it a strong CSP, a tax pro, anybody that can work those last couple days to complete the closing tasks that'll need to be done. So just something to put on your radar, think about, talk to your ATLs about. to make sure that we don't get in a situation at the end of the year where, you know, we aren't expecting this and then all of a sudden we need to figure out how to make it work.
I thought it was such a great point, and think of how much volume we do those last couple days of tax season. It's huge, right? It's just they're giant days for us, and as you guys know, right, we usually get finished on the 15th, we're up until the 18th. Those last couple days are really going to make or break us. So we want to have as much staff as possible. This is one of those use your influence, set the tone early, try to build capacity like we've been talking about and doing throughout the tax season. So just thought it was such a great point and wanted to get it out there. Any thoughts around this, or anybody have any ideas of how we can grow some capacity during Easter and the last couple of days of tax season? I'd love to hear from some of you guys what your guys' thoughts are.
And I guess we need to talk about it now, because I do know that a lot of offices will close, and I think a lot of people are expecting the slower offices to also be closed on that day. So I think we need to start talking about it now to the tax pros and the CSPs.
Totally agree, because in the past where we've closed offices, I'm telling you now, it's the second to last day of tax season. They're not going to let us close offices. It's going to be packed, busy. How do you fill the office, right? Think about the CSPs that can do digital drop off. You know, we can leverage WFA, things like that. So it's critical that we capture every return that we can, for sure. What I will say too is your the STIs for everyone. So your guys' bonus program goes through the end of April too. So even if whatever returns we can take in as digital drop-offs on Easter, after Easter, as long as we finish them out by the end of that month, then you guys get paid for it. So it's just don't lose those customers, right? Some things to think about for sure. Let's see what else we have. BlackWorks Online. So we are part of a BlackWorks Online pilot. It's currently in Mary Ann's offices, and I'm just going to be fully transparent here. Lots of problems. It's a pilot where and I'll have Mary Ann talk about it in a minute, but the key takeaway I want you to have is this may be going district-wide by the end of this week, where everyone will have this BlackWorks Online system. If that's the case, there's going to be lots of questions. So there's a group chat or a Teams chat for both teams and Teams for all of the tax pros. They can put any questions they have there. Also, I don't want it to be lost that we can switch from BlackWorks Online to the legacy, so we can switch to the old system, because BlackWorks Online can't do certain returns, and it can only do certain things. So you need to be comfortable switching between the two, and we'll talk through that. But just be aware that you may see some BlackWorks Online pilots, something like that, extended to the whole district. They weren't super clear. I think this is only going to be in Chesapeake. I don't think it's going to impact Newport News. Mary Ann and Leslie, can you guys share a little bit around BlackWorks Online and what you guys have seen with it, and just so people can know what to expect?
All of you know all of the problems we have had with all kinds of systems this year. And I can tell you for certain that this has been the most frustrating and the most problematic program of any and all you have seen. And my strong recommendation is that if you get into it, start with a simple return, 1 or 2 W-2s. Don't get into businesses on it. Don't get into, retirement. And I mean, it's just been, I don't want to say it's been a nightmare, but it has been a nightmare. And the help that we are getting on the Teams chat is great, but it's not immediate, and it's not, there's so much going on that chat that sometimes you can get lost in the crowd. And you're just going to have to be very, very patient. It's different. It's slower. It's got problems. I've got a missing return right now that they're trying to help me find. I mean, just don't do anything complicated on it. That's the best advice I can give you.
Thank you. And being transparent, right? My number one focus, return growth. So when you're helping every customer, if you can't get it to work in BlockWorks Online, switch it to Legacy. I don't know, so I don't know how to swap it to Legacy. Is that an easy thing that one of you guys can show real quick, just so everyone can see it, so they can talk to it if it does happen?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
It's
not
just a
hard.
wrench.
Yeah.
It's just a wrench in
Yeah.
Work Center. That's all it is. We're all familiar with wrenching.
So instead of
Um,
wrenching it, there's an option that says swap to Legacy or something.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it can't be, it cannot have gone to the paid status, because once it's in the paid status, you can't switch it.
Got it. So yeah, this is it's a pilot for certain districts, right? I believe it's going to launch to all of Chesapeake by the end of the week. I just wanted to get you guys ahead of it. Really do simple W-2 returns through there, and that's great. But you can really do you know, a lot of it you probably want to wrench and do in the regular returns, because out of all of the districts that they've launched this to, there's a low success rate is what I would say, right? As they're trying to work through the systems. I'm not saying don't try it, right? Maybe you get great at it, maybe it's fantastic. But just be ready and comfortable to switch to Legacy if need to, if you're having any problems.
2 more points I'd like to make real quick though.
Please do.
Number one, in the state return, in the Virginia return, do not put the -1 in the consumer tax field. That prevents the state from filing. And number two, if you're switching to the Legacy, it does not all the time bring every single piece of it over correctly. So you have to double check your Legacy program to make sure that nothing got lost in the transition.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for piloting this before the whole district pilots it. So appreciate it. When there's questions about it, my thing is communicate, right? When it launches, I'm sure there's going to be questions. The whole thing is communicate with your team, communicate with us, use the text if you have any questions, and we can all work through it together. And don't be afraid to switch to Legacy so that you don't lose it. So Joy asked, will this be mandatory to use? I will say this. Company is tracking how much we're using it. Bob Moretti and Dan are directly in charge of it and watching the reporting. I am not going to hyper focus on it. You want to try to put some through, right, to get used to your system. The whole thing is, in 2 years from now, the whole company is going to be on BlockWorks Online. And at that point, BlockWorks Online will be built up enough that it doesn't have any limitations. It's faster and works better than everything, right? But right now, they're in this like trying to build it out and fix it to where the whole company can use it, and we're part of that pilot. So it's not a polished product, right? It's like we're inventing the light bulb here, and they're trying to make it as good as possible for everybody. That's what the situation is. So simple W-2 returns that you can push through there, yeah, do it. Try to figure it out. Let's learn and help the process get better. But if you have a customer who's about to walk and you're having problems with BlockWorks Online, just wrench it to Legacy and do it. Does that answer your question?
Sorry, one more important point. BlockWorks Online does not count for or against your virtual percentage. So if you have somebody that you know is going to do a virtual return and you know that they're going to do Approve Online, do not do them in BlockWorks Online because you won't get credit for it. On the other hand, if you have somebody who is 85 years old and you know perfectly well that they're not going to do virtual, they are a perfect candidate to use in BlockWorks Online because it will not count against you in your virtual percentage.
Yep. So you can use this to drive your virtual like crazy. Great point. Wanted to talk lastly about fulfillment. So everybody, I've got a hard stop at 10:30 because I have to get on an emergency labor call with Dan. So real quick, fulfillment, right? Think about how you can leverage it to close WIP. You can go in and tell a Tax Pro, right? You can open that holds by Tax Pro that's attached to the call list I sent out this morning and say, hey, Doreen, you've got 40 holds. If you can't get it down to 20 by the end of this week or next week, I'm going to move half of them to fulfillment because we can't leave those customers behind. We know that the new customers, the digital drop-off customers, they're going to go somewhere else or make an appointment somewhere else. So you can leverage that to help close WIP, use or lose, your discretion. And then also think about how you can use it to combat capacity. Think of what's the difference between one of these outpost offices we have and an office with no capacity. There isn't a difference. Schedule a CSP to do digital drop off and upload to fulfillment, and then other people can grab those returns instead of losing them. So it's just, don't forget that tool's there that we can use, and just make sure we communicate. I made a fulfillment Tax Pro chat in Newport News Forward that I've seen some communication going through with Chesapeake, just use the chat that has all of our tax pros in it. If something's in fulfillment, let them know in that chat and say, hey, can someone grab it? And so I guarantee you someone will grab it right away. And then that way we don't lose the customer. Last piece, right? Just to bring it back to keep it focused. One, drive virtual like crazy. Look at the people that are 0%, coach and hold them accountable. Leslie just showed us that awesome process that they're doing to get at 70% virtual. If you're not at 70% virtual, I highly recommend taking what she was doing. It's an open book test, right? It's a great tool and a great way to drive virtual. We need to get there. Don't accept the 0%. 2, close holds. You can use virtual to close the holds too. Work the attached list. Let's send in that email because it has all of your tax pros and how many holds they have. Really start scrubbing it. Look for detailed notes. Now is when we want to move those holds to closed, because if we do that, we'll be in a really good shape moving into next week. So holds and virtual. That's my whole message this week, my whole focus. It's what I'm going to look at one-on-ones later this week. It's what I'm going to look at one-on-ones next week. It's probably going to continue to be the focus, and then we'll layer in return growth as we start to see guidance go down. That being said, I'll go ahead and turn it over. I know Dawn was on. So Dawn, if you've got anything for the team, any thoughts, anything you want to share, anything you need?
I just put a quick note in chat as a reminder to not forget to submit your supply orders. I got probably 6 or 7 emergencies. I'm out last week. I had one office that submitted 4 separate orders. You know, so just try and make sure whoever you've got assigned to that task to take a look so that we can do this without wasting a lot of labor and T&E running around if we have to deliver supplies. Thank you, Maria. I just got your orders. But, you know, that's just a reminder so you don't forget.
Love it. And on that note, too, I was speaking to Susan McHugh in the finance department yesterday. DJ, all the toilet issues you're having, Joy, the infestation issue you're having, all of that stuff is all being removed from our P&L, so it won't impact EBITDA or bonuses for anybody just here. I was able to get that adjusted for us. I got to jump, but any popcorn topics, anything on anybody's mind or anything that we should be thinking about?
Well, this is something for fulfillment center. Right now, there's 4 up there that I can see. There are 3 of them. They're not likely to return, and 1 not required to file.
What I would say is any of those that you see in fulfillment, can we open it and put in the notes, you know, not a real return, ignore me, something like that, just like you would with like a tech support issue in work center? Is that realistic?
I just think that before you throw things to fulfillment center, to me, that's like you're just throwing work that you should be doing for other people to do.
Agreed, but the problem with it is that if someone in California throws it up there and it times out,
This is North Carolina. They're all from North Carolina.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not our district, so we can't control that piece. But we can go in and say, you know, tech issue or whatever else and leave it alone. That way our people know. Barb, I saw you had your hand up too.
Oh, you're welcome. Yes, I just wanted to check to see if anybody needs any CSPs or if I can leave that alone.
I do, Barb. This is Teresa.
Barb, I'll call you. This is Maria.
Okay.
I would be jumping all over that if I was an MTL. I know we all need CSPs. I'm looking at the yellow space on schedules and thinking, oh my God. So definitely continue hiring for sure. It's a real elephant in the room, right? Definitely need some more stuff. Any other thoughts, anything else before we wrap? All right, well, I appreciate all the hard work everyone's doing. I know it's like this crazy year. I know staffing is rough. I know tech support is an issue. I know that we're struggling as a company with some of this tech stuff. And I will tell you that they're getting better at it. There's a ticket process they just implemented, and then they had like an 80% improvement in time to fix tech issues this last week. And there's a lot of pressure there that the company's trying to fix. What I would say is just continue to partner with me. If you have issues, if you have tickets, continue to send it with me and let me know so I can help push it through. And just thank you for your patience and all you're doing. I really appreciate all the hard work we're doing. If you stay focused on virtual and WIP, I promise you we will end the season really strong. All right, thanks guys. Talk to you later. Have a great day. Let me know if you need. Bye.